Hello, I'm Oleg Moskalinsky, the founder of Productive Computer Systems, PCS for short. And today I'm going to talk about customer marketing, provided my phone stops chiming. Um, just a quick background about me. I've been in information technology for about a little over 3 decades now, and have been involved in various IT-related initiatives, including half of that time spent on a web-based design and development of systems for businesses, mostly small businesses. And in 2000, in 2000, I developed online ordering system for restaurants, and it's still in use today by a number of local restaurants, called Takeout Online. And so I've been involved with many restaurants over the years and learned what they do and what they need and how things work. And as part of that, I was also intrigued by the whole concept of marketing for any business, including my own, and of course dealing with a lot of clients on the restaurant. And I could see some of the things that they do to try to improve their business, like any business owner would try to do. And there's a number of marketing techniques that work for some businesses, don't work for others. And so over the years, I kind of seeing all of this happening, I also developed some tools. In this case, today would be specifically for marketing purposes, for the restaurant industry. Uh, this particular tool I'm going to talk about is called FRED, which stands for Frequent Diner, short for Frequent Diner. Um, FRED was, well, we'll go into the history later. For now, I'm just going to start a presentation here so you can, so I'm going to talk over a presentation and give you a little background of where I'm coming from, why I think this is a very useful and very potent tool that you can use for your small business if it's applicable. This is not definitely not for any kind of business. Specifically, I'm talking mostly today to owners of restaurants, coffee shops, bakeries, but this particular kind of app can also be used for barbershops, for example, for car repair places that change oil, things like that. So there's a number of different uses for this thing, but we'll get into it a little bit later. Let me just start the presentation here, and I'll share with you exactly what my thoughts are on this particular topic. So again, I'm with PCS, and we're going to talk about customer marketing using the app called Fred. So the customer marketing concept is not brand new, but it's relatively new. And we initially went from big companies doing marketing in a kind of almost blind approach where you just dump information onto, you don't know what kind of people. I mean, you're hoping to reach the people you want to reach, but you don't really know because you just put an ad out there or you put a billboard out there. And of course, it costs a lot of money. So small businesses were not even in the mix. But it was the kind of marketing where it was very much companies, the businesses trying to market, were marketing to masses of people they didn't know. And so that was going on for many, many years. And now with the internet and with social media, and with our connectivity between each other, or at least ability to connect with one another, now we enter a totally different realm, so to speak, whereby we can actually potentially develop relationships with people and start dealing with them on a much more personal level, which of course elevates marketing to a totally different realm again, because now we can really use psychology of people and just the human nature to really improve our marketing efforts by specifically dealing with individuals versus dealing with this huge blob of people that are just everybody. And because people are so different, having this individualized approach allows us to create a new level of connectivity with our potential and our current customers, and that in turn turns into continued relationship, which turns into loyalty, provided that obviously the business delivers in terms of what they're supposed to deliver. And of course, over time, this turns into trust. And trust is an essential part of doing any business. As somebody smart once said, if you don't have trust, you don't have anything. And that's definitely very true. So let's step through this thing and talk about it in a little more detail. So first, you may or may not be familiar with the concept of um, customer marketing. Marketing is in general on the internet has gone through many incarnations, but the basic concept of what the minds out there came up with is relatively simple to understand, a little bit more difficult to implement, but it's all, there's different variations of it. But essentially, you're talking about grabbing leads from everywhere and then dumping them into a funnel. It's the easiest way to describe it. It's a funnel. And then over time, what's happening is some of these people will stick around and eventually go all the way through the end of this funnel. There's certain steps that you take in the middle of this funnel approach to try to get to know people and try to give them something that will create a rapport and eventual trust and create loyalty. And then, of course, once that trust has been established, then you're in a good position to try to sell them something. That's the basic concept. But the funnel starts out with a ton of people, and then over time, they dwindle down just to the ones that want to buy, and those are the ones you sell to. So people will tell you the first thing you need to do is find your audience. As long as you find your audience, then you have a much better chance of selling to them. It's common sense. I mean, it's not that difficult to comprehend, but if you really think about it, when people, marketing gurus say, find your audience, find my audience where exactly? In other words, if I know where to go find my audience, then I would need this Mr. Marketing Guru to tell me that I need to go find my audience because I'll know where it is. So the guru just says that to make it successful, you need to find your audience. And you know that if you find, quote unquote, your audience, then you'll be able to sell to them. But how do you go about finding your audience? That's something that most of them do not tell you because it's not that easy to find out. Once you find your audience, you send them an email introduction. And email now is one of the top mediums out there in terms of ROI, pretty much topping just about everything else out there when it comes to marketing mediums, that is, because it's pretty simple to implement. It's very inexpensive. Most of the time, it's free to send somebody an email. And so it really has, and email is something people use a lot. So there is a psychological element to email that's personal touch between two disconnected parties that are now connecting. And so even though we get a lot of email and a lot of it is spam, at the same time, email is still probably the top tool you can use for effective marketing, according to many studies. And that's something that people certainly use, and they use it because it works. So you send people email and you offer them something of value. That's obviously an important thing, because if you don't have anything valuable to offer them, why would they do any business with you? So it's got to be something of value. And a lot of people like deals and people like freebies. So you offer them some kind of a freebie to try to, some people look at it as a bribe. It's not really a bribe. It's just, if you look at psychology of human beings and you look at the concepts like reciprocity, if somebody does something nice for somebody, then the other person feels that they need to do something in return to reciprocate. And it's just the way we're built, the way we're wired. So if you give something to somebody without necessarily expecting something back, at least they will feel like they want to do something nice back to you. And that's the concept of giving people either discounts or freebies or special deals that engenders them to be more receptive to buy whatever it is that you're selling. That's the concept, and this is the concept that actually works. And so you direct these people to go to a website. Now that you give them something with a landing page, excuse me, and the landing page, on the landing page, you're asking them to opt in to get some other additional valuable content or information or PDF or discount, whatever it might be. But you're asking them to opt in. The reason people ask, and the reason that became a big deal, is because initially the whole funnel approach was really kind of simplistic, saying we're going to go out there to social media and we're going to go out there to all the different places where we can possibly get people's emails and people's contacts, by email lists, things like that. And then we're just going to email all of these people with our offer. And then once we, out of so many people, statistically, so many will buy. My initial years in the corporate world, for the, I guess, for first 17 years of my career, I worked for a timeshare company. And that timeshare company, I got also to know that business pretty well. I was on the IT side of things, not on sales, but I was definitely aware of everything they were doing. And timeshare business was, at least in the beginning, and it pretty much still is, pretty high pressure sales approach. And people would drive potential customers. They would invite them with some sort of a freebie offer, get a free vacation in Las Vegas, or some sort of free gift camera or something, or a chance to win a car. That was a popular deal too. And then people would come in for 90-minute presentation, and then there would be this what we call 3-camera show, where the narrator is trying to put you in the mix of things, and then hopefully you'll be in the mood to buy something to go on vacation. So it was a very high pressure sales deal, but the idea was very simple. Out of every 11 people that came through this show, one would buy. That was the statistics that just were totally corroborated by history and exactly how it worked. Out of 11 people, one buys. So what they tried to do is get as many people to come in as possible, because they knew that according to stats, this is what's going to happen in terms of sales. They kind of had some idea in terms of how much they'll be able to bring in based on how many people they can shovel into that room. And the same thing was here with online marketing, where people would send out these mass emails to zillion people, and out of so many people, some people will actually respond and will actually buy whatever they're selling. And so the idea was just send it to everybody and then see what comes out. The problem with that approach, which of course later became known as everybody dearly called spam, was that people totally hated it. Most people totally hated it. Even though there was some action from it, it was definitely not a good way to conduct business. So people came up with a new approach, which is these opt-in and landing pages, saying, look, if I'm gonna give something to you and you're gonna come back and tell me yes, you want it, at least on some level, you're gonna tell me yes, I'm willing to get this particular freebie or get this deal, that means you're more interested in buying my stuff than somebody who says I couldn't give a rip, right? So the idea here is that you want to have people look at your offer of some sort and then tell you, yes, we're interested. And that's what these opt-in pages and landing pages were, is just a way for a customer, potential customer, to potentially says, yes, I see your stuff and I'm willing to take a look at it, at least to some degree. And so that became a very popular way to avoid the whole spam issue, and at the same time avoid legal issues with spam, where people, there were some laws passed to prevent people from spamming everybody and their brother. And this was a way to do it, because they're saying, look, I got some for you. Here's my email. If you're interested in getting that freebie or discount or go to the next step, just opt in with your name and email, and then from there, we'll take it from there. And that's how they would use this as the way to get people through these funnels, where they would have multiple steps and multiple landing pages, and they would simply, people who actually go all the way through the process, in the end, will wind up with just the people who really want to buy your stuff. And the people, because it took a while to go through the process, because you opt in one time, you get some kind of freebie, and then some time passes, you get another email, again with an opt-in, saying that, to go to the next step, you get another freebie if you opt in. And so people would go through these multiple opt-ins. It's almost like saying yes multiple times. Do you want to get this? Yes. Do you want to go to the next step? Yes. And so yes, 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 yes. again, looking at the people in on a psychological end of the spectrum who did some studies, you want to get people to say yes as many times as you can, because that eventually translates into a sale. So that's why they wanted to set it up in such a way where people would be getting things, and they would getting freebies, and they would get to know you, and you would get to know a little bit about you throughout the process. In the meantime, you're responding, opting in, saying you're still interested, still interested. So these steps would be repeated a number of times. In the end, you wind up with people who are just, they now know you, they supposedly like you. Otherwise, why would they keep saying yes to you and keep opting in to get more and more stuff? Obviously, they like what you have to show, and they like to get the stuff. And so now at the end of the process, there's some sort of sale. Obviously, this doesn't work for every business. That's the basic idea of this funnel, is dump a ton of people in the mix, give them some freebies over time, explain to them about you, explain to them about the business, explain to them about, but you're not actually asking them to buy anything until you get to the very end of the process. And then the end of the process, whoever is left are likely people who now know you pretty well, and they're still interested because they went through all these steps saying yes, yes, yes. So they will buy. Now that you're actually offering something, they will buy, and hopefully will continue to buy. So that's the basic funnel approach. Okay. For other businesses, such as, for example, restaurants, people could not go through this long-winded process. So what they would do is they would send them some kind of an offer, hopefully they couldn't refuse. And by that, I don't mean the Godfather approach. I mean that it would be something like, buy something and get 50% off. Or if you buy it today, you're getting 75% off. Whatever, some kind of huge offer that people just have a hard time saying no to. And then they would do a double opt-in, meaning that, to be able to get it, you have to opt in by putting in your name and email. And then they tell you, you're almost done, just hold on a second. And then you're going to get an email, because people could specify any email they want. So to make sure they're dealing with the right person and with the valid email, they said you'll get an email from us shortly. Go ahead and click on the link in that email to continue with the process to get whatever you're trying to get. Maybe it's a look at the page with a video on it. Maybe it's a PDF file. Maybe it's some kind of coupon. It doesn't matter what the offer was. But the bottom line is people had to opt in twice by doing this and doing the email verification. So again, this wasn't done so much for the purposes of anything more than getting people to say yes twice in a row, which would then indicate to the actual marketers that, yeah, these guys really want to potentially buy something from us because they did this double opt-in, and we know we have their valid email address, so that goes as part of the deal. And sometimes people would buy, and sometimes people wouldn't buy. Okay, so that's kind of the simplified funnel. If you're going to read as a statement, you get qualified leads of people who like you and want to buy your stuff, send them valuable offers, engage with them, and they will reciprocate time and time again. Okay, that's the basic proposition of this funnel approach. So what's the recipe for success to make it work for one too many people, since we're talking about restaurants here, majorly the concept here. So the recipe is simple. You establish rapport, you provide value, you build loyalty with these people, because you're giving them stuff, reciprocity kicks in, and eventually all of this, once they have the information, once they have the freebies and offers and everything else, eventually if they like you and they can see that they can trust you, trust is established, which is extremely important for conducting business. In fact, if you listen to Zig Ziglar, who was one of the founders of modern sales and how to do sales right, he said that if people like you, they'll listen to you. But if they trust you, they'll do business with you. And if you read this carefully and think about it, it makes perfect sense that unless you establish trust with whoever you're dealing with, they're not going to be doing business with you. Okay, there is a way to potentially use the used car salesman approach, but that only works so far, and you won't be able to conduct continuous thriving business. But if people like you, if people like what you're doing, people like how you treat them, customer service, experience, the products or the services, if all of this is on the ball, and then they start trusting you, they'll continue to do business with you over and over and over. No question about that. And of course, the trust element is not only true in restaurant business, it's pretty much true in just about any business. It's true in any relationship of between various people. The concept works for um, all these kind of relationships as well, that if you don't trust people, you just won't be able to do anything with them. And if they don't trust you, they will want nothing to do with you. And so it's one of these things that you're trying to concentrate on working on your business, but at the same time, your marketing efforts need to create the trust necessary to have the business grow and expand. And as Tony Robbins said, if you're not growing, you're dying. And so it's very important to continuously. This is the reason businesses market, is because marketing allows them to generate sales to grow the business. Otherwise, it's not even the business anymore. So trust is an incredibly, incredibly important element of it. And a lot of businesses struggle with creating trust because they have, for lack of a better term, inept policies when it comes to customer service, where things are done in a very rigid format. And it's unbelievable how many companies make a mistake of not handling customer service right. We had a situation. I had, one of my restaurants on Takeout Online. There was an order, and unfortunately, the restaurant screwed up. There was a special comment about how something should be or shouldn't be done to the fajitas they ordered. And when the food was delivered to the customer called back afterwards saying that no, we wanted fajitas a certain way, and it was this way. And the restaurant totally acknowledged that they screwed up. It wasn't anything to do with the ordering system or with the customer. They screwed up. So they called me and said, can you credit these people from last night? Because they called and we talked about it. And also, can you please deliver a replacement? And we're not charging them for that. So just cancel last night's order, give them all their money back, even though they got the food. And today we're going to give them the same order, but the way it's done, the way they wanted it, at no charge. Okay? On one hand, you're thinking, this is a sure way to go out of business. I mean, if you start giving everything away for free like that, you're totally going out of business. But the reality of this is this doesn't happen every day. In fact, after doing this with this restaurant for about 15 years now, we've had this kind of stuff happen maybe 4 or 5 times at most in 15 years. So it really doesn't happen that often. But the upshot of this, when I came over the following night and actually gave him the food, the woman, thanked me and said, great. I said, you guys got a refund. And then the husband actually got out to the door, and he goes, you guys are awesome. And this is the kind of stuff that you cannot buy with any amount of money or any amount of special marketing or anything else. You just can't buy that kind of stuff, which is nothing more than regular customer service and thus customer experience done correctly. Okay? They didn't do anything. The restaurant screwed up, so they took a little hit on that particular order. But the feeling that these people got, the customers got, by seeing the restaurant being so open, nobody argued with anybody. Nobody, wanted to get into any kind of debate that, well, we did it this way, but maybe we can give you something. No, nothing. They simply immediately gave them a refund for the entire order from that previous night, and they gave them the same order done right on the following day at no charge. And these people right now are completely and totally in love with this restaurant and their practices, and as it should be. If somebody treated me that way, that's exactly. And this is what actually creates trust when it comes to conducting business, and that trust is far, far, far more important than anything else. So it's really important to, when you're whatever tools you're using for marketing purposes, the trust element has to be in place. So if we go now a little bit back in history here, this is one of the coupons I used a long time ago with a local coupon distributor, and the restaurants do marketing using coupons, and which is a way to get, obviously people to get to know them, get to come in. Most of the time, coupons have to have some sort of an offer, otherwise nobody's going to use them. And if you look at the cost, if you were going to go and market to people yourself and do direct mailing to customers, the mailer right now, which is basically a postcard, costs 34 cents per postcard. The regular letters are 49 cents. The postcards are cheaper, 34 cents. And so if you consider how much money you would spend on creating some coupon or a postcard that looks like this one, and then you add to it printing costs, and then you add to it mailing costs, it's completely cost prohibitive for any small business and for any restaurant. I mean, there's just no way they could afford to do these kind of mailings unless it's a huge restaurant, a very expensive restaurant. The regular, normal mom and pop places or smaller restaurants, no way they can afford anything like that. So the coupons became a popular alternative because coupons, you go to a company that does this. They do everything for you. They create the design for you, which you have to approve, but still they have their own graphics people doing it, and then they do the mailing of so many coupons. And in this particular case, we had about 30,000 coupons that went out to people in the local area here, and the cost is $650 per mailing. And most restaurants that do this usually offer a discount of 10 or 15%. 15% is considered to be a good number. 10% kind of gets people's attention, but they don't really use it that much. 15% or more definitely gets people to actually use them. And the return on investment using this direct mail approach is only anywhere from 0.5 to 2%. So best case scenario based on statistics is you get 2% of people to come back and actually give you business. And so if you do the math and if you add things, and of course, math here is a little bit flexible, or can be flexible, because there's a lot of different components that go into it. You can see that you're spending a bunch of money up front to get this mailing out. You're getting fairly small result. I mean, it's fairly small return back. Most of the time, these kind of campaigns don't make restaurants any money. In fact, if they don't lose money, maybe they'll break even. That'll be the best thing they could do. But the reason they keep doing it is because they really don't have any other ways, or at least they didn't think they had any other ways. And at the same time, they do this to try to get some attention and you need to do some marketing. In other words, if people do not know anything about you and you're not getting it in their face somehow, then they won't be able to come and give you business. I mean, they need to know about you. So this is one way how maybe you're losing money, but at least you're introducing people to come in, try out, and see what happens. So this approach is certainly popular. I mean, a lot of restaurants are doing this in terms of popularity, but at the same time, it's definitely not the best approach at all, because you're winding up putting out a bunch of money out up front without any kind of guarantee for return business or the amount of the return business. Okay, which is why, in my opinion, it's definitely not a great approach. And you usually will lose money or break even. Very few restaurants, actually, from the restaurants I talk to, make any money on this. And plus, keep in mind, in addition to spending money, also you need to give them the discount too, once people actually come in with a coupon. So not a great approach. So how do we establish customer loyalty? Now, if we don't send something like a coupon out to people, how do we get people to become loyal customers? How do we establish this customer loyalty? We'll go back in history a little bit, and I'll tell you a true story of what happened to me. And one way how you can do this, how you can establish customer loyalty, and how many actual restaurants and other businesses do it, is through what became known as punch cards. As you can see there on the bottom, there are some examples of punch cards. So with punch cards, the concept, I'm sure all of you are familiar with. You go to the business, they give you a punch card. Every time you come in to buy something, they use a little puncher to punch a hole, and they have some kind of offer. So like some of these cards here, it says, buy 5 and get, I don't know what the last one is there, but get a freebie, or buy so many and get 50% off, or buy so many and your next one is on us. All kinds of different deals. Usually it's you buy so many, make so many purchases, and then the next one is going to be free. That's the idea. And so that approach is also relatively popular. I mean, I would say it's pretty popular. And so the story goes like this. I walk into Tully's Coffee. It was a number of years back, maybe like 3, 4 years ago. And I open up my wallet. Obviously, example here on the screen, as you can see, is a little exaggerated, but my wallet doesn't quite have as many different things in categories and everything. But the idea is you go to one restaurant, they have a punch card. You go to a bakery, they have a punch card. You go to another restaurant, they have a punch card. So you wind up accumulating all these punch cards in your wallet, because if you put them in your pocket, then your wife actually washes that particular pair of pants, and that's the end of that card. Or you misplaced it, you put it in one pair of pants, and now you're at the restaurant with in a different pair of pants. So wallet is, at least, is usually with you, so most people try to put it in the wallet. And of course, when you start accumulating these cards, credit cards, everything else, it becomes huge. I mean, you got tons and tons of these things. So I walk into Tully's. The guy says, "Do you have one of our punch cards?" I said, "Yeah, I think so." I open up my wallet, I pull out the card, and then everything just completely spills all over the floor. And I'm standing there like an idiot with everybody in the restaurant looking at me as I'm trying to collect my cards from the floor, totally embarrassed, and all the eyes are on me, one of those type experiences. And then I give it to the guy, and he punches this, and I'm thinking, I shouldn't have done it. It's not worth the punch to go through this kind of thing. But when I sat down, it actually gave me an idea. Why are we doing this on paper like this? When we're living in the world of digital information, digital devices, things like that, why not create a system to do it, on a tablet or on a phone, especially on the phone? And so I kind of started thinking. I went back to the owner of the place, who was also cashier at the time. I said, "Would you be interested in a digital version of customer loyalty program like this with punch cards?" He said, "You know what? I had a guy talk to me about 4 months ago that he was supposedly developing something like this, and I never heard back from the guy." So he says, "Yeah, I'd be very much interested." Well, long story short, a few months later, the Tully's closed its doors, and this guy was gone, and that was the end of that concept. But I actually developed a much more complicated version of this initially. It took me a couple of months to write it, and eventually I decided that I'm not going to go ahead and offer it to people because it was a little bit too convoluted, too many steps in the process. And because to me it needed to be, it eliminated the problem with the wallet having too many cards, because you can have literally unlimited cards, but it was just, it wasn't written the way, it wasn't as simple as I really wanted to see it, and I wasn't sure how people were going to react to it. Bottom line, it got shelved. So this is one of my projects that didn't happen. But I still had this idea in my head that if we could have something really, really simple that businesses could use, this would be a great way for them to have something that they can truly use to enhance customer loyalty and increase customer loyalty, even a better word. And at the same time, that's part of on this path of having trust with your customers to be able to conduct more business. And so if you look at pricing, when people right now do, the people who do use this approach, you have a bunch of problems with this kind of approach. One problem is expenses. You can see from the prices below. I just grabbed some stuff from Google. They're 20, $25. This one on the right here is $30. So between $20 and $30 is what you will spend for 100 of these cards. And of course, a lot of these cards wind up in the garbage, wind up, misplaced, lost, whatever, like we discussed. Okay, in some cases in washing machines. Not to mention faux pas with spilling everything on the floor because of too many cards in the wallet. Using them is a little bit of a hassle because you need to have a puncher, and so the employee needs to, grab the puncher and punch the card. And of course, when they punch the card, if the puncher gets lost, now nobody can punch anything. You got to go buy another puncher. Punchers range anywhere from also $20 to $100, depending on the puncher you get. Especially if you get puncher that doesn't just have holes, but some kind of design. It punches. Those are much more expensive. $70, $80 per puncher. And if it gets lost, then you need to get another one. So definitely not an inexpensive proposition to do that. And then of course you have the issue with fraud. What I mean by that is simply that, if somebody has the same puncher that they can just punch, let's say little round holes, potentially nothing prevents people from coming in, getting the loyalty card, which of course nobody charges anything for those, and then they bring it home without even purchasing anything, and they simply punch 10 holes. Let's say the offer is buy 9 and get 10 free. They punch 9 holes and then bring it back the next day or the next week or whenever they feel like it to the restaurant and say right there, give me my freebie. And you have no record or no information. Nobody, after dealing with hundreds and hundreds of people on a daily basis, can possibly remember when was the last time this particular person came, and whether they used, but whether they really purchased these 9 meals or made these 9 purchases or not. So fraud is easily done and impossible practically to track. And so you end up losing money potentially with some people who are less than ethical, which is, a big problem. But the biggest problem with this whole approach, in my opinion, that's much bigger even than the problems I already described, is that you do not have any connection to the customers at hand. They come in, they get a card, and they may come back and use the card. Maybe, maybe not, you don't know. But you have no idea who these people are. You don't have their name, you don't have their email to contact them or phone number. You have no way to communicate and to engage with these people, to work on that loyalty and work on that trust to be able to get to the next stage. So you have a excellent ongoing customer coming back and buying and buying and buying. That's the biggest problem with these kind of approaches, that the concept of loyalty, customer loyalty using these punch cards is excellent. The idea on a psychological level is very sound. People get something for free. The card doesn't cost anything. They come back, and when they buy it, they wind up getting closer and closer to getting a free meal. So you take care of their need for freebies and special deals. You take care of them coming back and back and back, because that's the only way they can get to the freebie. So that part is taken care of by this approach. And at the same time, as they come back and give you more business, they get to know you better. They wind up getting accustomed to you. There is a relationship that's being formed and being nurtured by having this ongoing transaction going on from first punch to second to third and so on, eventually to the freebie. And of course, because of the fact that they're getting this from you, again, psychology indicates that reciprocity plays a huge part. So these people feel like, since you're giving them a deal, they're going to come back and reciprocate by giving you more business, which in turn turns into more deals for them. So it ends up being a mutually beneficial approach, both for the customers and for yourself. And of course, also over time, trust is something that's only built over time. So the biggest problem here is you don't have any of this information to be able to engage. Even though all of those things are positive I just mentioned, the fact that you cannot engage with these people, you cannot take it to the next level of building trust with them and dealing with them and offering them upsells and cross sells and different things to really get the engagement going. So there's really no engagement of any kind other than when they decide to come in and they're buying something and you do the punching. That's basically the level of engagement you have with these regular cards. And then, of course, you have a bunch of missed opportunities because of that. So since you don't have their information, you cannot engage with them. You cannot engage. You're missing out on opportunities in this. So that's the biggest problem, even though many people use this approach. At the same time, it has these major, major problems with it. And all of this was part of my thinking for trying to come up with Fred, which we'll get into shortly, how to do this customer marketing. How do we establish this customer marketing to be able to gain trust, engage with customers, and do more business? And the way we do that is we start with, we talked about the funnel, saying we need to get to the right people. The right people are our current customers. If you look at the report from this Frederick Reichold of Bain & Company, something that was published in Harvard Business Review, they said that acquiring a new customer is anywhere from 5 to 25 times more expensive than keeping a current one. And so that's something that's been known to many businesses for a long time, that it's much, much, much cheaper for a business to deal with existing customers, current customers, than try to get new customers. And so that's one thing that's important also about this whole concept of these cards and having customers that are your current customers to deal with, because they're already there and you can conduct business with them in a much cheaper way than trying to go out and spend money to get more customers to come in. Okay. And then at the same time, they concluded that increasing customer retention, meaning dealing with the same customers multiple times, increased the rates of profits anywhere from 25 to 95% by simply increasing the retention by 5%. Okay? So if you're dealing with the same people just 5% more than normal, your profits would go up anywhere from 25 to 95%. And so this was a key thing when I was reading this. This was the key thing in my thinking about coming up with this new service, that you want something for your existing customers, and something like punch cards is a great way to do it, as long as you can eliminate the problems that the punch cards have that we just discussed. Okay, and then once you can engage with people, then you can build loyalty and trust, and then you can take the business to a total different level. My friend David Amerlin wrote a book on trust, and in this book he had the statement right there on the right side there. You can see it says, he said that the ultimate goal of marketing is to generate an intense bond between the consumer and the brand, and the main ingredient of this bond is trust. Brilliant words. The man is brilliant, and it's a privilege to have him as a friend, but it's absolutely incredibly well stated concept here that says that the ultimate goal of marketing is to generate an intense bond between consumer and the brand. Because once you generate that intense bond, then sales are just going to float in without practically any effort, if you can actually get that on the table. Okay, and the main ingredient of this bond is trust. So we're going back to the fact that trust is the most important thing in whatever you're doing in your business with your customers, because once the trust is established, business is right there, will go with it. Okay, and so thinking about all of that, looking at all of that, trying to figure out what to do to be able to facilitate this for businesses, that's where I came up with the app called Fred. I don't know what else to call it. That's what it is. It's an app. So let's first, before we get into details on Fred, let's talk about what it actually is. So Fred is a cloud-based technology. So everything works in the cloud. You don't need to have any computers. You don't need to have any boxes or anything like that in your business to be able to use Fred. Everything is taken care of in the cloud for you. The actual app itself is web-based. It's all web app. That means that it's cross-platform compatible, meaning you can run it on iPhones, you can run it on Androids. It also means that because it's a web app, as opposed to being a native app, that means there is no downloads or installs to use it. Okay? Nothing. You don't need to use anything at all. The only thing you do need to have is a smartphone, and you need to have smartphone access, or tablet is fine too, with the camera and QR code scanning app, both at the business level for staff at the business and the customers. Since most people today have cell phones, pretty much everybody you ever encounter will have a cell phone on them, and all of the cell phones now have cameras. So all the smartphones out there, people come in, they all have cameras. And the QR code scanning app is something that, as you can tell from this description here, that the Fred works on QR codes. And QR code scanning app that initiates different actions in Fred, it's something you can get from either the App Store for Apple or Google Play Store for Android at no cost. Most people already have it because they use QR codes for a lot of other things too. So for most people, it's there's really nothing else to get. But if you happen to have a person who doesn't have a QR scanning app, you can easily go and download it for free one time, and then you can use Fred. No big deal. Okay, and so to establish Fred in the place of business, all you need is a single QR code that PCS will supply to you. I mean, it sounds simple. I like to call it painfully simple because it's so simple, but it really all is necessary. That if I give you a specific QR code and you put in your business, you can start using Fred right there. I mean, that's all it takes. You can promote it any way you want. You can put it as a printed page in your business, one place, multiple places. In some of my clients, I have it on, they have a little tent cards on their tables, and they have the QR code there for people to get into it. And you can put it on your website, you can put it on your blog, social media, you can put it in any kind of print materials. If you want to advertise it on TV, you can put it anywhere. Wherever you can put a QR code on any kind of media, then people can start using it from there. Okay. And again, going back to the concept of painfully simple, it's, my own term for it is, it's painfully simple to start, and it's painfully simple to use. It really is. It really is just amazing what it can bring to a business. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought it's just awesome to be able to do this kind of stuff with this level of simplicity. But it's a key thing. I want to kind of emphasize that the painfully simple may sound like a you know humor like statement, trying to be funny here a little bit. But at the same time, I want to make a point and drill a point that it's very important for any kind of technology you're going to use in your business. It has to be simple for people to use, or it's not going to get adopted. And in the example, I only launched Fred a few weeks ago, and I already have several places that signed up for it, and they're using it right now. And I've had enough, well, actually a little more than that, maybe a month. I've had enough time passed so far to look at statistics and see how people are using it, and if people are using it, and so on and so forth. So I can see that the adoption with no training is almost instantaneous, and at the same time, people are using it without any manuals, without any complications. It's just they're using it. It's painfully simple. I mean, it's the easiest way to describe it. So I want to make that point specifically, because that's an important part both of getting going with it for a restaurant, and at the same time on the customer end to utilize it for customers. And one of the things that I always believed in and still believe in is that first of all, I don't believe in branding my products to myself. As you can see on this presentation, it's got PCS here, it's got PCS there. Yeah, because I'm doing it, I'm talking about my product. But the product, when it actually rolls out and you start using it in your business, it's nothing but you. There is no mention of PCS. There is no mention of Oleg or anything like that. Everything comes out from you, as you dealing with the customer, engaging with the customer, and the customer is dealing with you. So it's the branding and everything is your business, not mine, yours. Okay, so I want to make sure that that's also very clear, because I think it's important. I think branding is important. A lot of services out there do all kinds of different relationship marketing and content marketing, all kinds of stuff, but they do it through their own platform with their own colors, their own branding. Everything is theirs, and they just have you to be part of the mix. My concept always has been with both Takeout Online and this thing is that it's all about the actual restaurant involved. So it's their look, it's their colors. My Takeout Online, when I set up a new restaurant, what I usually do is I look at their website, or I create a website for them depending what they need. And then based on the look and feel of the website, that's how the ordering pages and ordering pages tied directly to the website. So it looks like it's one effort coming from one company, not multiple companies, even though in this case, multiple companies are involved. So branding is very important. And also, I don't believe in long-term commitments. Going back to the days of dealing with companies to process credit cards before e-commerce really hit the stage, I had to deal with a number of companies to do the credit card processing, and it was major pain because they commit you to a year, and then all of a sudden you find out you're paying too much money and you want to switch and you can't. It's just a nightmare to deal with this kind of stuff. So because of that, I decided, if you as a business are using my product and you like it, you'll continue to use it. If you don't like it, then it doesn't make any sense for me to try to force you to like it or use it or pay for it if it's something that you don't feel is for you. So that's why I set it up where there is no long-term commitments. Anybody can quit at any time for any reason, no questions asked. If that's not for you, not a problem. Okay, so that makes it also very much easier as a proposition for people when they consider buying into this particular, or any of my products actually. It just makes it so much easier because There's really that pain of, oh my God, what if I don't like it? What if it doesn't work for me 3 months from now? Because a lot of things, when you try them, it takes a while to get going in many ways. I mean, Fred is actually gets going pretty quickly, but many other things take a while to go. Like if you set up a new restaurant with online ordering, it may take a while to ratchet up and promote it and everything else. So when they say a little while, it may take a month, may take 3 months. It just depends. Bottom line being that you want to have the flexibility of being able to jump out for any reason at any time, then you really don't have any risk stepping into it. Because if it doesn't work for you, then you step out. If it works for you, then you continue to do it. So that's why I set up the concept here to work like that. So let's go back to our funnel a little bit and see how Fred fits into the funnel. So we were trying to get qualified leads of people who like you and want to buy your stuff, send them valuable offers and engage with them, and they will reciprocate time and again. So let's look at Fred and see how does it fit in this kind of concept in terms of funnel. First of all, qualified leads. We're not spamming a bunch of people or getting a bunch of people that we don't know who they are or what they will do. No, we're only dealing with people who want to buy your stuff. How do we know that? Because Fred is there at your restaurant. These are your clients already. When they see that it says, go ahead and purchase 9 meals and you get the 10th free, they understand what that concept is, and it tells them to scan the QR code to get going. They don't need to scan the QR code if they don't want to scan the QR code. So if it's not something for them, then they don't have to do anything. But if they're interested in participating in this, then they will scan it and they will get going. So what you're accomplishing here, without building any websites or any landing pages, you're accomplishing the exact same effect. You're presenting the concept to people. What used to be a website, now it's just a single little page of information here. And you're saying, if you want this, go ahead, scan the code, fill out short form, and you'll be up and running. Okay? If you don't want it, you don't have to do it. I mean, nobody's forcing anybody. The beauty of this approach is that when they fill out that short form and sign up, they know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly why they're doing it. And guess what they're doing? They're opting in by signing up. Okay? So you're accomplishing the concept of what the old funnel approach was, where you drop people in and they have to opt in and opt in and opt in to try to show that they're interested. Here you're accomplishing both at the same time. You're giving them an offer, and they know exactly what it is. There's no surprises, none of this, click on the button, put in your name, and then we'll tell you on the other side what the deal is. No, it's totally upfront, totally right in their face, and they know exactly what they're going to be getting if they sign up for it. And we do need them to opt in, because that creates psychological connectivity or connection to be able, and of course reciprocity as well, to be able to conduct business in a better manner. But at the same time, it's done very simply using totally upfront approach. Okay. Now, in terms of sending them valuable offers, sending them emails with some kind of videos or anything else, trying to convince them to get to stage Z where they can buy something. No, it's much more immediate, much quicker, because they know all they need to do is continue to come back and buy whatever they're buying, whatever you're selling. And then after so many, like in the case of example we're talking about, buy 9 meals, get 10 free, they know that they need to keep coming back at their convenience. Again, nobody's pushing them, nobody's forcing them into anything. And if they keep coming back and doing that, they will get the discount. So, whatever that 1/10 price of 10 meals comes out to, that's what they're getting for free. So they know exactly what they're going to get. And essentially by coming back every time and getting Fred to virtually punch their card, so to speak, because it's all digital, it's all virtual, what happens is they wind up doing an equivalent of both opting in and at the same time getting something of value to them, because they're obviously getting the meal, something, everybody needs to eat. So they need to keep coming back and doing it. But at the same time, they have a choice where to go. And here they're getting a deal. So why not come here? That's the proposition, basically. Okay? So they're getting something of value to them already. Okay? You don't need to create anything. You're not taking any time. In the traditional, not traditional, but the approach of the funnel we discussed, where people get sent email and they get sent additional for all of that, somebody needed to create this content. Somebody needed to send this content. Somebody needed to continuously do it. All of this takes time, and of course, since it takes time, it takes money and takes effort. And we still have only 24 hours a day, and you're in a restaurant business or a bakery business. You're not in social media or internet marketing business. So that's why this is great, because people do self-management here. They already take care of the opt-in part, they reciprocate, they get the value, and they continue to give you business, and it's all happening in a totally automated fashion. If you stop and think about it, this is what makes it so compelling as a tool for businesses, because all of these elements are already built in, and you don't have to do anything. Everything is done by the customer. You practically virtually do nothing to facilitate such, which is what I think makes Fred so valuable and so potent. Okay, and so in terms of engaging with them, once they start doing this, and of course you'll have their emails, you will see shortly, then you can start, without getting crazy, sending an email to them with something else. For example, maybe after a certain amount of time, you send an email saying, look, we got Father's Day coming in, we'll give you a 20% off coupon here. And you provide them, the way at least I do it when I do social media marketing for restaurants. I usually provide them with QR code, because they're so used to QR codes. To them, it's a no-brainer. And they simply bring this QR code to the restaurant, and the restaurant staff simply scans that QR code, and that way, that's how the tracking happens. They don't bring anything, they don't print anything. They just scan the QR code with the offer. Restaurant sees what the offer is. If there is an expiration date, it's right there on the page. The QR code is right there. They simply scan it, and they're done. And in the meantime, on the back end, everything is totally tracked. So you know how many people came in, how many people got 20% off, how many people got $10 off, how many people got, whatever the offer might be. So you can start getting engaged with people on a more frequent basis, and potentially get them into something else. Like one of the things that I do with some of my clients is the birthday club. Okay. Everybody likes getting something on their birthday. Everybody likes to feel special. So email goes out, because again, we got their emails when they register for Fred. So you start using Fred. So remember, they're using Fred. They keep getting the value, and they keep getting the benefits from Fred. But in the meantime, we have their email, so we can go out and then, of course, they can opt out anytime. So it's not like they have to do it. So we send them a deal saying, look, fill out this short form. And we always make forms super small, just as small as possible. Let us know what your birthday is, and every year on your birthday, we'll send you, we'll get you a free gift. Okay, birthday gift. Which people wouldn't like that, right? So again, this is all done if you'd like. Nobody's forcing anybody into anything. Simply, here's an email that says that if you give us your if you give us your birth date, we will give you a gift every year for your birthday. So some people that don't want to get any gifts and they don't want to be bothered, they're not going to respond. No big deal. Other people, most people, do respond very much positively, and they indicate what their birthday month and day is. We never ask them for a year, because a lot of people don't like to indicate how old they are, number one. And number two, it's irrelevant for our purposes. All we're trying to do is something nice to them and engage with them and create a more personal rapport with them. We're not trying to find out how old they are or how young they are. So month and day is good enough. They've put that in. And then if whoever is doing the social marketing and social media and email marketing, depending who is doing it for you. And by the way, a shameless plug, this is something we can do too, but we'll talk about it in another hangout. But whoever is doing it for you, they can then easily create on a monthly basis. Here comes March. You send out all the March emails, because you know exactly who these people are. You know exactly what their birthdays are. And if you don't want to do a specific day, you can just ask them for a month only. And if you're only going to be doing per month, that's definitely another way to do it. But the bottom line is you're creating more and more of a connection with these people. And because you're creating this connection, they reciprocate. All of them do. Okay, this is something that it's not disputable. Tons of studies have been done. If you read the book by Robert Cialdini is the guy's name, about power of influence, He totally describes exactly how they did scientific tests and how reciprocity works and how marketing works. I mean, this stuff actually works. And so by creating this engagement and dealing with people in that kind of way, you're definitely creating a bond that David Emerlin was talking about in his quote about trust. And that bond leads to trust, and that bond leads to business, and that bond leads to the point where you get continuous business. And guess what? If you're using Fred, you're having a continuous business, because once they get to that number 10, if you use the paper approach, of course, then they throw the card away and they need to get a new card. Hopefully you had enough of them printed so you can give them a new card. But seriously, though, if you look at the Fred approach, there's nothing else to get because they already have Fred. All they need to do is just continue doing what they're doing. They come in, they scan their personal QR code, and they wind up getting benefit from Fred from that. So as you can see, all of these things that normally done in the funnel are completely taken care of within Fred without any special effort. Okay, so that's why, you know, in my view, even though I'm a little biased here since I wrote the thing, Fred is a perfect tool for customer marketing because you can really get on a very personal level with people. And you know, birthday is just one example, but there's many different things you can do like that. Including surveys about how well you're doing, so people can tell you, you know, if you did this or that. One of the things that was very useful for me and some of my clients is sending out emails saying, we really appreciate such and such. You know, New Year is here. Here's a 15% discount for you, just to, you know, get the new year going right. And at the same time, if you don't mind, we would really appreciate you filling out a short review on Google, you know, just writing some short review and rating us on Google. We're not telling them what to write. We're not telling them to be good or bad, or, you know, they can write whatever they want. And some people will do it, some people won't. But I've used this approach to take a 3.7 rating restaurant and within a few months driving it to 4.1 rating, average rating, you know, on Google by using this particular approach. Okay, so you're already going to people that like you because they're part of the mix. They have the connection there because they're part of your group of customers that you're dealing with all the time, and so they're a perfect group of people to ask for a review. Because most of these people, if they don't like you, they're not going to be part of your group, so to speak. And if they do like you, then obviously they're going to write a nice review. So it's a positive. You're not really setting yourself up for, oh my God, what if they write something bad or rated bad? It almost never happens in that kind of context. And at the same time, you wind up having these reviews. And what that does, it pushes bad reviews down. So only, you know, the latest reviews show up as good reviews. Your rating goes up. Google likes you better. You get positioned better in terms of when Google shows you in Google Maps and everything. So there's all these additional benefits all coming from this simple tool that you're using on a continuous basis where you just kind of set it and forget it. Okay? So think about that as one of the reasons to consider Fred for your business. So let's talk about some of these checkpoints here. So you know exactly where your ideal customers are. You know, they're right in front of your face, basically, if you're a restaurant. At least some of them are. And of course, those that sign up for Fred, those are the ones. And if they do sign up for Fred, that means most likely they like you. Because otherwise, you know, why would you sign up to try to get some freebies from somebody you don't like? So they like you. You don't need any special websites with landing pages. You know, that part of it goes completely away. So you don't need to spend any time or money or effort on that. You don't need to worry about opt-ins or multiple opt-ins. None of that is needed. You don't need to dream up all kinds of freebies to email to people. You know, they already get their discount with by using Fred. You know, it's already built in, baked right into the product, right into the service, I should say. Now you can fully engage with, and of course, this is a continuously growing list. As people get into the Fred mix, you end up getting more and more and more people. So you're actually marketing to more and more people all the time. So you can fully engage with them with the myriad of offers. What I mean by myriad of offers, I don't mean you spam the heck out of them, because nobody likes that. We already talked about spam. What you're doing is you're doing emails every so often and so often means that usually in front of holidays or special occasions, maybe you have some kind of event coming out, so you want to let people know. Maybe you have some new vendor, that you have a new line of coffee or something like that you want to push to, or not push necessarily, but just to let people know that you have it. I mean, there's all kinds of different ways to do it. Maybe you have certain days that you're kind of slow, or certain times of the month or a year when you're slow, so you might want to send out some sort of an offer uh, to these people, to Fred members, uh, and invite people to come in. I mean, there's all kinds of deals. You can promote your catering services that way. You can um, promote your parties for multiple people. Where you have like a special party meeting place. I mean, there's a lot of different things you can do. You do it every so often, and that's good enough for most people. I mean, they get what they want, what they need, and it works really well using that kind of approach. Don't need any expensive coupon campaigns where you shell out a bunch of money up front, not knowing if you're going to get anything back. With Fred, it works differently. You're not putting out any money practically. I mean, Fred is so cheap that, and we'll get to that shortly here, but it's so inexpensive that you're practically not putting any money up front. But at the same time, uh, people come in and sign up and start buying stuff from you. That's when the discounts for them kick in, is when they actually buy stuff from you. If you send out a bunch of coupons, you're hoping they're going to buy from you. They're going to come back and you give them the 15% off at that point, and they bring the coupon. But if they don't come in, then you're already out $650, as my example, for that particular mailing, and they didn't come in. So it's a very different approach in terms of return on investment using something like Fred. Actually, using Fred, there's nothing exactly like Fred because I wrote it. Next thing we have is it's painfully simple to start. Like I said, all you do is you simply get a QR code from us, and that's all you need to get going. Then you just put it wherever you want to put it. People start using the code, and that's how the whole thing starts. So it's very, very simple to start. And to use, it's also very simple, because all the people have to do when they come in, they simply show their personal QR code. And as we go through the demo shortly here, then you'll see exactly how that part works. And so that's all they do. They just show the code to somebody on the staff. Staff uses their phone, which could be any phone, anybody's phone, doesn't matter. Doesn't have to be a dedicated phone at all, to simply scan it. And that's it. That's basically it. Again, no long-term commitment. You can quit at any time. And except for quick scans here and there, everything is completely automated. You scan using the scanning program, and that's basically it. Everything is done in the background, everything else. So right now, if you have your phone handy, you're welcome to try it. I'll walk you through the steps, show you exactly how it works, and show you how it works at the business level and how it works at the customer level. Okay? So this particular QR code that you're seeing here on the screen is something that's totally scannable. You can scan it with your scanning program on your smartphone. And this simply goes into a demo for PCS. So you'll see the logo for Fred instead of seeing, obviously, your logo. But just keep in mind, the branding will be of your business. It's not going to be of me. And so this particular thing just shows that because it's a demo thing. But you're welcome to go ahead and use it. Simply, point the phone to scan this particular code right there, and it'll scan, and it'll take you to the next step. And so when you scan it, it's going to take you to fill out a short form when it's asking for name, email, and optional phone number. That's all it's asking for. So, it takes seconds to fill out. And once you submit that, then you're set. Then next thing you do is you go and check your email. And in the email, you will have, again, the branding stuff. And then it's going to say that here is your personal QR code. So every person gets, when they sign up using this approach, they get their personal QR code different from everybody else. And that personal QR code is something you bring to the establishment to get the purchase registered and to get freebies. I mean, that's all you have to do. So you just use that personal QR code to bring it and have people at the restaurant scan it time and time again. So that's all you do on your end. At the restaurant level, what happens is they scan your personal QR code when you come in, and then they enter a verification code, which is a 2-digit code. The reason I put in the verification code in there is because I didn't want people to have ability to just simply make it look like they're buying something, basically commit fraud. Remember how we talked about the punch cards where you can just punch in your own deals and potentially, I mean, not you, but somebody who's unethical and untrustworthy might do it to scan to get some freebies um, without making any purchases. We don't want that happening with Fred, so that's why, since it was just a simple scan initially, that means somebody can use somebody else's phone to scan, and it'll ratchet up their purchase numbers up, and then they can get freebies. We definitely don't want that happening. So that's why there's a little bit additional stuff for staff to do, which is just simply once they scan your personal code, uh, yours meaning customers, then they just enter the verification code, which is 2 digits. For this demo, it's 99. The 2 digits you need to enter to make it work is 99. For other restaurants, is they pick their own, and it can change at any time. So the only people that know the verification code are people on staff at the restaurant. And of course, what they're scanning is QR codes that are only available to the customers. They don't have any access. So because these are two separate parties, you don't have um, possibility of people trying to scam the system, so to speak. And so in this case, if you're doing the demo, go ahead and scan the code, go ahead, fill in your information, and then just use your email that you get with your personal code, scan that code, and it'll ask you to enter the verification code. So then you enter 99, and then you will see a simulated purchase registered, and you will see how many you purchased. And the way the demo is set up is that every third purchase gives you a freebie, I mean, virtual freebie. So when you scan, first time it shows you that you had one purchase, then you do it again, second purchase, you do it third time, it'll go ahead and show you that there is a freebie, and you see how it works. So really, really painfully simple, right? So let's kind of show examples if you're not doing this demo yourself right now, so you can see precisely how it works. And I'll just explain here. So we said it was painfully simple. So once you scan the code, then you'll get this screen right here. This is directly off my phone, and you can see it says Frequent Diner Loyalty Program PCS. Again, this would be a logo of the business establishment that's actually running Fred, not this thing here. So it shows the logo of the restaurant, and shows the or whatever the business is, and shows the name. And then down here, it shows small form with you put in your information, your first name, last name, email, and optional the phone number, and click submit. Once that's done, which always takes seconds, then speaking of keeping everything nice and brand oriented, it'll take the person, once they fill it out, to your business's webpage. So the idea is once they fill it out, it could go nowhere, but I thought it made more sense to introduce them to your website if they haven't seen it yet. And so it's perfect. They fill out the quick form, and it takes them right to your website. Whether they want to browse it or not is up to them. If they want to go somewhere else, up to them. But this is where it'll take them initially. So in my case, the demo will take you to my PCS website. Okay? So that's kind of part of the branding effort. And the branding is maintained throughout Fred. So any emails you get from Fred are with your logo and name. This is definitely all part of the branding process in Fred. Once they get to that point, they're basically done. And so they will get their email within seconds, which will have the logo, and it'll have, logo of the business. And then it'll say, here's your business name, Frequent Diner code. And the code is, as you can see right there, and this is the code that will be scanned by the staff at the restaurant every time they come in. So this is something you get once, and you just use it over and over and over and over again. That's the personal code. That's, each customer has their own personal code, and it stays with them. And it just tells them right there, please show it to your waiter every time you dine at PCS Fred Demo, which is, the business name, to get rewards. Simple, painfully simple. Okay, so then once they do, they bring it in, and on every visit they come in, they give it to the staff to scan. Staff member simply scans it with their phone, and they get on the screen, they get their customer ID, which is just an internal number in case we need to do any kind of in case we need to investigate something or look at something. I mean, that's how we can segregate people internally, because you could potentially, you're not going to have another Oleg Moskalansky, but you can easily have John Smith, and you can have 50 of them in terms of your customers. So the actual ID differentiates people in addition to their name. So it shows to the staff member, this is the staff member screen, they see their customer ID, they see their name, and they go your logo, and then they asking them to just put in that verification code we talked about, the 2-digit code. Okay, so they enter it. Again, in this case, it's 99 for the demo. And once they type in that code, that's it. Then it simply shows that, again, the same code, name, everything else. It just says total orders, including today, is 1. So once you do it the first time, you should see a 1 here. And then second time, you'll see a 2 and 3 and so on and so forth. Okay? And so, yeah, the staff sees their name and sees how many orders they got. And then the last thing is, once they get to the point of getting a freebie, then Fred will automatically come up with additional line here in red, bold print, big, that says free meal today. So the demo is set up to every time you order 3 items, then it comes up with a free meal message. But most restaurants do like buy 9, get 10 free, or whatever the reward may be. The reward can be set up to be anything. It doesn't have to be freebie. It could be a certain discount, could be a freebie, could be pretty much anything you can think of. But the idea is, once they see that message, the staff member, then they give that particular reward to the customer right then and there. I mean, they're there at the restaurant, they're doing their normal scan. Oh, today your lunch is free or your dinner is free. And it's really cool. Plus, the staff members can also do some additional marketing if you decide to have them do. They can say, this is your order number 7, meal number 7, 3 more, and you're going to get a free meal. So for people who don't really keep track of that on the customer end, they're like, oh, just 3 more and I'm going to get a freebie. So it kind of, again, pushes them very gently into the mix of people who are coming back more often. Come back again, do this. Another thing you could do potentially is you can, if you decide to do that, I mean, totally optional, you can potentially send the same QR code, your personal QR code, to your family members or friends and say, hey guys, if you don't mind, every time you go to this particular restaurant, show them my code to scan, because the restaurant doesn't care if it says Oleg Moskalansky. It doesn't have to be me. It could be anybody. And so once they scan it, it registers an extra meal. So if you got family members coming in, they can really jump the ordering to the number where you get close to the freebie. And you can even make it like almost like a game where you can make it, well, whoever is going to be number 10, that's who's actually going to get a freebie. So people kind of get into competition to try to come in more often, so they have more chances of scoring on that number 10, so they can get a free meal. You don't have to play, make it gamified like this and make it into a game, but it's fun and it doesn't hurt anything. And in terms of your sales obviously don't lose anything, because the concept was they buy 9 meals, they get 10 free. Whether they buy 9 meals in a month or they buy it in a week, you don't really care in terms of money, because money is going to be the same no matter how it's done. But it encourages people to do it more often and do it like that. I have one restaurant which started using Fred, a little while ago, and they have this one guy actually initially contacted the owner because they thought there was some kind of fraud going on, because it shows like on some days, the guy is there every day. On a couple of days, it was actually twice a day. And I'm like, that can't be right. I mean, who eats that many times? And so I contacted the owner and said, do you know this guy? Of course, we know this is the deal about Fred, that it's not something like that you don't know who these people are. You know exactly who these people are, at least people who registered. So you can get back to them and see who is using the card and things like that. And if somebody steals somebody's code, then potentially they could be using it. But again, it's not going to hurt your business in any way. And they can always sign up for get another code if there is any kind of problem easily. But anyway, back to my story. I called the owner and I said, is there anything going on with this? Do you know who this guy is? Oh, yeah. He comes here all the time. I said, when you say all the time, you mean like daily? He says, yeah, most of the time he is. And he's using this all the time? He says, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I said all these days here that show up in the last week that he was there every day, once a day, and then on these 2 days it was actually twice a day. Yep, yep, absolutely, totally. So, people definitely like it. People use it, and if they can get a deal, why not? So in this guy, his case, he was coming there all the time anyway, so he's using it. Another question I got asked was, okay, what about people who order online? Can they get a discount too? And so that depends on the restaurant. If the restaurant owners want it to be part of the mix, then it's very simple. Whenever somebody comes to pick up the food themselves at the restaurant for takeout, they simply need to have one of the staff members scan their code. They don't need to wait in line or anything. Just anybody walking around, you just have them scan the code, because it automatically takes care of everything. Like I said, it's all automated in the background, so nothing else needs to be done by them. So any staff member can get their phone, any phone, and they can scan, and it'll register as a purchase. Simple and quick. And of course, if it's a delivery, all you want to make sure is whoever is doing your deliveries, that the driver has a phone of their own that they can use. And of course, most drivers use Google Maps and everything on their phone anyway, so they always have a phone. And so you just simply ask them to scan the person's code when they deliver the food. So it works for online ordering, it works for dining in, it works everywhere. Okay. So that's that part of it in terms of how it works, and it'll show you when the staff member wants a free meal and they take care of it. So let's quickly go through some frequently asked questions before we wrap this up. So how long does it take to get started? About 30 minutes. It's actually even faster than that, but it's really, really quick. What do you need to get started? All I would need your business name, logo, contact information, and credit card to pay for Fred on a monthly basis. Usually I set it up as a recurring fee in PayPal, like a subscription, and that way you don't have to worry about it. And then anytime you want to quit, you just quit. So simple enough. So you don't have to deal with monthly bills and checks, none of that stuff. It's nice and simple that way. What do I get? You get a business QR code. Once you sign up, you get the business QR code, and you can also get email lists at any time. So you simply contact me on the phone, email, chat, however you want to do it, and say, I need my list. And you get a list of all people who registered through Fred. Whether they use it or not is irrelevant. You still get the email list. And also you can get statistics on a monthly basis. You can get statistics about how many people registered, how many people are using it, things like that. And of course, you have full online support. What it means that if you're in Chicago, then me stepping in for a cup of coffee to talk to you about this is not an option, since I'm in Seattle area anyway. But we can simply do this online. We can do a video conference. We can do certainly do a chat on either Google Hangouts or some other means. And of course, you can certainly call me. So full support, anything you need in relation to Fred will be totally taken care of. How much does it cost? Right now, the introductory offer to sign up with lifetime guarantee for it is $50 a month per location. So unlimited use, unlimited number of customers, unlimited number of scans. All of that is only $50 a month. So if you consider the cost of spending $50 a month to get all these benefits versus something like $650 plus to send out a coupon, you can see that it's a no-brainer, which marketing approach makes a lot more sense to use. So you get all the benefits and everything without any of the drawbacks, and you get even more benefits, and yet you're only spending $50 a month. And like I said, this is right now half off special. So normally it would be $100 a month, but it is $50. And the way I set it up in terms of the lifetime guarantee is that as long as you're with the program, on the program, I should say, then the price will remain the same. There's not going to be any kind of hikes in price indefinitely, basically. Okay. If you jump off at some point for whatever reason, and then you decide you want to go back onto it, then it's going to be whatever the current pricing is at that point in time. It's not going to be $50 anymore. May not even be 100 anymore. It just depends on that particular time, what the situation is. But right now, I wanted to make it so a lot of people can sign up for extremely cheap. So it's $50 a month per location. Is it just for restaurants? No, it doesn't have to be. So restaurants, bakeries, um, coffee shops, cafes, those obviously are perfect for this. But you can also have businesses like barbershops, for example. Get so many haircuts and get the next one free. You can also have it be done at dry cleaning places. A couple of things that come to mind right there. So any place where it makes sense to have a frequent customer situation with some kind of discount they can get, those would be applicable for using Fred. Is there a short-term, is there a long-term commitment? No. You can quit any time for whatever reason, no commitment. Are there any other fees? No, there aren't any other fees at all. It's just $50 a month right now, and that's it. That's all you're paying. Is there a referral program? Yes, there is a referral program, and I don't want to talk about it here. Just contact me separately, and I'll be happy to describe any of the details. Is it really that potent yet simple? Yes, it really is. It is painfully simple. It's just not another way to describe it. And finally, if you have any more questions, I'll be at this URL here, appear.in/PCS-works for a little while after the Hangout. So if you want to jump in there for a private video conference and ask any other questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. So again, it's appear.in/PCS-works. And it'll get you right in there. Okay? All right. With that, I'd like to just leave you with the screen. Thank you very much for joining me today. If Fred is something that you think would work for you, you think would be beneficial for you, then you can easily sign up, using basically contact me, and I'll take care of the rest. Again, the pricing right now for unlimited use is only $50 a month per location, whatever the business happens to be. And you can play with the demo by scanning the code right there on the right side of the screen. That's the demo. And if you have any questions, you can join me for the video conference at appear-in.com/PCS-works. I'm sorry, appear.in/PCS-works. Sorry about that. And I'll be happy to answer any questions. You can find me on Google+. You can find me many places. I'm easily found. And of course, you can email me at that email address right there, and you can call me if you want to call me. So I'm easily found. Thank you very much. I hope this was informative and useful. And next time we'll cover some additional things about Fred. Take care.